I'm so excited to be here today to talk about time banking. Time banking is something I've been involved with for about 9 years down in the Boston area through 2 different time banks. And I'm currently the coordinator of a time bank down there. And I spend a lot of time up here, and so I've been talking to people up here and hearing a lot of interest, and I'm excited to talk even more about it. So time banking is a form of alternative currency. So rather than using what we call federal dollars, the paper dollars that we exchange in stores all the time, this is using an alternative currency based on time, where 1 hour of time is equal to 1 time dollar. So when you're doing services, 1 hour of me coming to your house to rake leaves, or you going to your neighbor's house to babysit a child, or your neighbor going to a friend's house to help install a new computer. All of those equally get compensated for 1 time dollar if it's 1 hour of time. What's really cool about this these days is there's 2 different software options out there that are really easy to use that track the hours that people have in their account, similar to the way your bank account is online for your federal dollars these days. So these softwares allow you to go on and record exchanges, pay somebody else time dollars for the time that they provided a service for you, and keep track of all of that. Now, a lot of people think, oh, this sounds a little bit like bartering, where we used to sort of, Alana and I'd go to Alana and say, I really want acupuncture, and then Alana has to come to me and find something that she wants that I can offer. The difference is with bartering, you do have that one-to-one exchange between 2 people, and a lot of times one person's really happy, and the other person sort of feels like, well, I got something, but it isn't really what I wanted. With the time bank system, you get away from that because this online tracking system keeps track of hours in people's account. So I could pay Alana 1 hour for 1 time dollar for an hour of acupuncture today, and she might not use that time dollar for 6 months or a year or 5 years if she wanted to. She could hold on to it for as long as she wanted, and when she felt ready to spend it, she could spend it on any service that anyone else in the time bank wanted to offer. And it's really great because when you start getting a community going, and a community of time bankers can be as small as 5 or 6 people. The time banks that I'm involved with right now one of them has about 175 active people and the other one has about 300. And there's usually somebody offering services that I want, and that I can find and go and pay with these time dollars with. So that's how it's a little bit different from a barter. And another important feature is that with a barter, a lot of times you're figuring out what the federal dollar value of something is and making a trade based on that federal dollar value. One thing that I really appreciate with time banking is everyone is equal. So whether it's we've got a chiropractor in one of my time banks doing chiropractic work, or a lawyer doing legal work, or me going out and raking somebody's leaves, all of our time is valued equally. And I really appreciate that, and that sort of equal exchange, and really appreciating the value of everything that everyone offers on whatever scale it is. Another spot where time banking comes in. So time banking is sort of this exchanging time dollars, exchanging hours for services or goods, and I'll touch base on goods a little bit. The time bank itself also creates an amazing resource of skills that people have in your community. So when I think about time banking, so I'm a marketing and communications consultant. I do web design and stuff like that. When I'm in my time bank, I get to think of all the things beyond just my career that I get to do in the world, that I like to do, that I enjoy doing. Surprisingly, I actually do like raking leaves. I know other people might not. I really like raking leaves. I've stacked firewood. I do some photography on the side. I get to tap into my photography skills and offer those to my community. What are some of the other things I've done? I've just given people rides. I've got a car, and that's a resource that other people might not have. And so I've given people rides in my car to the airport or to doctor's appointments. I like to cook, and I've cooked meals for people. And so it's tapping into all of this knowledge and skills that I have that isn't normally valued in my community because I'm not getting federal dollars for them. They're not part of my career. And that's the case for everyone else in my community and my time bank as well. So everyone in my time bank they may or may not offer their professional career skills through the time bank. They do get to offer anything and everything that they want. Maybe their professional career is something that they're not happy with and they'd really rather not do any more of that. But they've got some people one person that I talked to recently loves to golf. And I was like, so why don't you offer golf lessons? And he's like, oh, I'm not a golf pro. I'm like, but you know how to golf. And I know we have people in our time bank who don't know how to golf at all. And somebody who knows how to golf, even if it's even for a couple of months, has more skills than this other person has. And he put up an offer to take people out on the golf course. And he said, he'd take people out and teach them golf, or even just go out with people. He was comfortable going out with people of any skill level, because a lot of times beginners don't always feel comfortable going out with experienced people. And he's had, I think, about a dozen trades just based on that, something that he really loves to do, and that's earned him time dollars. And so now, as he's earned those time dollars, he's now paying those to other people to do things like rake his leaves, and I think he got his car detailed the other week, and he paid somebody to come help his wife in the garden, which he never liked to do. And in tapping into all these other skills that people have, if you think about it in your community, how many people have skills that they really aren't actively using, that they may still really enjoy using? People who are retired, whom you might not find in the yellow pages in town, or with a sign hanging up in town offering a service, but they still have a lot of really valuable skills and resources to offer our communities. So people who are retired, people who have traded careers and started up a new business, a new career path. People who have been in the military and come back and receive some really good training in the military, maybe about engineering, plumbing, electrical work, construction work. And then now they might be in a totally different career, but they still have those skills and they still enjoy using those skills. And the time bank's a way to both find out what skills people have in your community and access those resources. And it's amazing just how resource rich our communities are in ways that we don't even think about. And one example of where that came in really handy is in Christchurch, New Zealand a few years ago. There was a really big earthquake. And after the earthquake, they were trying to rebuild the city. And the city, they just didn't have enough people in the professions of plumbing, construction, electrical work in order to do all the work really in a timely fashion to rebuild the city. They had a really thriving time bank there, they still do. And the time bank had all this knowledge of who had the skills and resources to really help out the city in its process of rebuilding. And the time bank became a pivotal part of that community. So just in general in accessing the resources of your community, it's huge. And then also thinking about some of the transition town movements and being self-sustaining and also sort of disaster preparedness and what do you do if something more major happens. The time bank's a great way to tap into all of that knowledge as well and sort of have a database of what these skills are that people have. And I have so much fun with the time bank working with people, thinking outside the box of all the different things that you can do in the time bank and things that I may not normally think of as a skill or a resource that I have or that somebody else has. But it becomes more fun when we do these things together. So one thing I found recently that I've enjoyed doing, I'm somebody, I do not like to clean my house. Not my favorite thing. But if I hire somebody to clean my house, I sort of go, I run around and I clean my house before the cleaner gets there. Somebody else might have experienced that before. So what I've done through the time bank is something I wouldn't normally pay somebody federal dollars for, but I pay somebody time dollars to come over and talk to me while I clean. And if they talk to me while I clean, I don't think about cleaning, I get my cleaning done, and they get time dollars that they can go spend on something else that benefits them. So you can really think outside the box at just about anything that can be a skill or resource, either that you offer or that you'd like to ask somebody else for. Which brings me to this idea of giving and receiving. One of the big things that makes a time bank really effective is the idea of reciprocity, which is everybody gives and receives equally, fairly equally. And it's fascinating working with people and looking at which one they're more comfortable with. And I find quite often people are concerned that a time bank might have people taking and taking and taking. I found in my experience that it's actually the other way around. Most of us are really comfortable giving, and it feels good to give. And we're not always as comfortable asking, I see a smile back there, not always as comfortable asking for what we want or what we need or even just what we'd like. I mean, forget about what we need. What would I like? Would I like somebody to talk to me while I clean my house? Yeah, I would. But getting out of my own way to ask for those things is an interesting process. And ideally in a time bank, if everyone's giving and receiving fairly equally, you hover around a zero balance for your time dollars. So I'm also always encouraging people to get comfortable going a little bit negative with your time dollars. Trust that you're going to come back up. There's going to be times when we're giving more, times when we're receiving more. And I find the harder thing is for people to sort of let go of their preconceived ideas and feel comfortable asking for what they want and maybe being at a point of receiving a little bit more in their life. So those are a couple of the principles that come in time banking that come together to really make, I find, sort of an exciting time bank with this time exchange and a more vibrant community. It's a great way to meet people and sort of meet people in a robust way, meet all sort of different aspects of people other than what you might find walking down the street and visiting them in their store. And a really great way to build up your community with your human resources and tapping into these skills that are already right here in your community. So with that, we're coming towards the end of our time, so I did want to let you know that I've got a notebook and pen here if anyone wants to share their names and email addresses. There is a group that's starting up a time bank here in this sort of Shediac, Moncton area. Alana Paul is stepping in to initiate coordinating that. And we tentatively have a meeting planned for this Wednesday for anyone that's interested at the Vortex Cafe in Kokon. And if you leave your email address, we can confirm that this week. So that's going to be from 7 to 9 at the Vortex Cafe in Kokon this Wednesday if you're interested. Any questions?
Thank you. How many people would it take to start a time bank?
It can be as little as 4 or 5. Really just sort of getting the idea going and getting some trades between you. It can be, as I said, as few as 4 or 5, and trusting that at the beginning, and even as you go on and grow, it may be sort of an add-on to things that other people are already doing. So there are some communities where they're really replacing federal dollars with time dollars. But for the majority of time banks out there, it's really an add-on that people get to bring into their life to make their life more robust. So 4 or 5 people doing 1 or 2 trades a month is a beautiful and effective time bank. Thank you all so much.